Imagine being handed a mountain of debt before you've even left your childhood home. Picture a system that smiles as you sign your name on the dotted line, promising dreams while quietly stacking chains around your ankles. That's where our story begins, not in some faraway boardroom, but in the ordinary, fluorescent-lit classrooms where children are taught to obey, to study, to aspire. The student loan crisis didn't start with Wall Street or the White House. It started with a simple, seductive promise: invest in yourself. Meet Alex. Not a villain, not yet. Just a bright-eyed kid who loved numbers, excelled at persuasion in science fairs, and sold handmade trinkets to classmates during recess. In his small world, success was tangible, immediate. If he could convince someone to trade candy for a carefully folded paper airplane, why not imagine convincing them of bigger things later? This innate gift, this uncanny ability to sell the invisible, would later find a monstrous stage. Fast forward 10 years, and Alex is standing in front of a glossy office window overlooking a city that never sleeps. The same city that promises opportunity also hides exploitation behind every glass pane. The student loan system, much like the Wall Street ecosystem, is built on trust, on faith that borrowers will honor their contracts. But unlike a candy trade, the stakes here are massive. Millions of students sign their names without fully comprehending the gravity of their obligations. Interest compounds like a slow, inexorable predator, while repayment plans are confusing labyrinths designed to appear navigable. Alex saw opportunity. He began small, consulting friends and acquaintances, dissecting their loan agreements, and showing them shortcuts to defer payments, maximize grants, and manipulate forgiveness programs. The promise was simple: play the system smartly, and you win. The reality was more complicated, more morally ambiguous. Each success was a thrill. Each loophole exploited a small adrenaline shot that made him feel alive, powerful, untouchable. Soon, word spread. Alex's reputation became a whispered legend on college campuses. Students who had once struggled to understand a single page of their loan agreement now clamored for his advice. He explained interest capitalization, income-driven repayment plans, and the opaque rules of federal and private lenders in a way that made them seem like games. But here lies the moral irony. While students thought they were gaining insight, they were also entering a world where the rules were bending beneath their feet, and Alex's own methods were walking a thin, increasingly precarious line. In a way, Alex was both the hero and the anti-hero of this story. To the students, he was a liberator, someone who could teach them how to survive a rigged system. To regulators, bankers, and later journalists, he was the embodiment of exploitation, a reminder that charisma and intellect, when combined with ambition, can be dangerous. The system, already complex and opaque, was a canvas, and Alex was an artist painting in shades of grey. By the time he graduated, Alex had moved from informal consultations to creating workshops, online courses, and newsletters that promised inside knowledge. The content was slick, cinematic even, using fast edits, bold graphics, and testimonials that blurred the line between reality and marketing. Students didn't just learn, they were seduced into a culture of urgency, scarcity, and aspiration. Every success story became a mythologized example of what could be achieved, and every failure, well, failures were quietly ignored or repackaged as lessons in resilience. The escalation was inevitable. With each passing year, the stakes grew. Alex began to partner with financial institutions, private lenders, and even shady affiliates who promised larger returns for students willing to stretch rules. What began as helpful advice morphed into aggressive salesmanship, where persuasion met profit. The workshops were no longer just about saving on payments. They were about convincing students to refinance, consolidate, and borrow more, all under the guise of financial empowerment. And yet, despite the adrenaline rush, the moral ambiguity, Alex was careful to stay one step ahead of the law. He understood the psychology of trust and the inertia of bureaucracy. He counted on the fact that regulators moved slowly, that investigative journalists were overworked, and that students were often too exhausted to notice subtle manipulations in fine print. Every loophole exploited was a testament to his intelligence, and every loophole ignored was a reflection of a system too complex for its own oversight. This is where the story's dark satire emerges. The very people who claim to want to help students, banks, the federal government, loan services, were complicit. Mismanagement, obfuscation, and profit motives aligned seamlessly, allowing Alex's ascent to proceed almost uninterrupted. He was not the creator of the crisis, but a symptom, a magnifying lens that exposed the contradictions, hypocrisies, and failings of an institution designed to educate but often structured to extract wealth. By the midpoint of his journey, Alex was a public figure. Interviews, conferences, podcasts, he had become a myth in motion. Students looked up to him. Parents were divided between admiration and suspicion. Regulators began to murmur quietly in boardrooms. Each move was calculated, each word carefully designed to maintain a veneer of legitimacy while pushing the boundaries ever further. And yet, in private, Alex wrestled with the dissonance. The thrill of power was intoxicating, but there were nights of doubt, fleeting moments where he wondered whether the empire he was building was morally defensible or justifiable in any human sense. It is important to pause here and consider the psychology at play. Why do we admire figures like Alex, even as we recognize their faults? It's the anti-hero allure, the seductive myth of someone who can bend the rules of a system we ourselves find suffocating. He embodies the tension between aspiration and morality, between genius and recklessness. Watching him rise, we are both inspired and horrified, caught in a blend of admiration and ethical unease. The escalation continues as Alex begins to leverage media attention to expand his influence. Videos, blog posts, and interviews are crafted with cinematic precision, each narrative thread emphasizing opportunity, cunning, and cleverness while downplaying the consequences. He becomes a master of storytelling, mythologizing not just the system, but his own role within it. Students aren't just clients, they're followers, participants in a carefully orchestrated spectacle where risk is invisible and charisma is currency. And then comes the first signs of unraveling. Whispers of mismanagement, hints of regulatory attention, subtle criticism from peers. At first, Alex dismisses them. He has survived scrutiny before. But the cracks widen. The very mechanisms he exploited, the opacity of loans, the convoluted repayment structures, the bureaucracy of oversight, begin to turn against him. Investigations loom, audits threaten, and the public narrative shifts. The myth begins to fracture, exposing the moral and ethical compromises underlying his rise. By the end of this segment, Alex is at the peak of his power, yet the first shadows of consequence creep in. Students have achieved temporary relief or gain, but many are still ensnared in debt. Regulators are asking questions, journalists are digging, and the public begins to see the cracks in the facade. It's a moment of dramatic irony. The hero's ascent has been dazzling, but the audience, both internal and external, can sense the impending descent. The story of Alex and the student loan crisis is not just a tale of financial manipulation. It's a psychological study, a social critique, and a darkly satirical myth about ambition, morality, and the vulnerabilities of a system that preys on hope. Part 2 will explore the unraveling of the empire, the moral reckonings, the fall from grace, and the sobering reflections that leave us questioning not just Alex, but the structures that enabled him. The peak of power is always the calm before the storm. For Alex, the facade of success began to tremble subtly at first. An article questioning his methods here, a skeptical regulator's memo there. The student followers who once celebrated every hack now began whispering doubts. Social media threads questioned the ethics of his advice. Small cracks, almost imperceptible to him, were widening into chasms. Alex's instinct was to double down, to accelerate the hustle that had propelled him so far. Workshops became flashier. Webinars promised insider secrets with urgency amplified to near frenzy. Testimonials were edited to highlight victories and erase failures. He was a master of psychological manipulation, convincing both students and himself that the system was still pliable, still under his control. Yet, beneath the surface, the machinery he had leveraged so brilliantly was beginning to turn against him. Investigators finally took notice. It started as bureaucratic curiosity, a regulator noticing discrepancies, a journalist hearing consistent complaints. But soon it became an aggressive pursuit. Alex's empire, once celebrated for its ingenuity, was dissected piece by piece. Every loophole, every creative solution, every bold claim was scrutinized under a lens of moral and legal accountability. The narrative that had been so carefully curated, the cinematic rise, the anti-hero aura, began to unravel under the cold light of documentation. There is a dark irony here. The same charm and intellect that allowed Alex to manipulate thousands now became tools for investigators to trace patterns, identify misrepresentations, and uncover harm. The public, previously enchanted by the spectacle, began to see the cracks. News segments highlighted students trapped in debt despite following Alex's guidance. Regulators emphasized the opacity and risk of the methods he promoted, and journalists published exposés that dismantled the myth of infallibility he had cultivated. Yet, Alex was not simply defeated. He adapted, shifting from overt persuasion to narrative control. Interviews were staged to emphasize lessons learned rather than wrongdoing. Apologies were calculated, measured, never fully admitting culpability but acknowledging mistakes in a tone that evoked sympathy. It was a delicate performance of contrition, designed to retain credibility while limiting legal exposure. The public's fascination, mixed with moral ambiguity, allowed him to survive the first wave of backlash. However, consequences are unavoidable. Some students faced financial ruin. College graduates who had trusted his advice discovered loans ballooning due to deferred payments or refinancing schemes that were riskier than advertised. The anti-hero myth collided brutally with reality. Charisma and cleverness could not erase interest compounding over years, nor could it reverse the structural failures of a system built to extract wealth. Alex's story, once aspirational to his followers, became cautionary to a wider audience. Psychologically, this is where the tale becomes compelling. We watch Alex navigate the fallout with a mixture of arrogance, fear, and strategic thinking. Each decision is calculated for survival, each word weighed for maximum persuasive effect. His internal monologue, though never fully revealed, can be imagined, a mix of self-justification, frustration at exposure, and relentless drive to maintain the illusion of competence. It is the anatomy of a tragic descent, the slow unmasking of an anti-hero who once seemed untouchable. The narrative pacing slows here, reflecting the reflective, sobering reality of collapse. Investigations intensify, media scrutiny deepens, and the legal system demands accountability. Alex's workshops are shuttered, courses cancelled, and online platforms removed. The myth, once vibrant and cinematic, is stripped away to reveal the human beneath, fallible, ambitious, and morally compromised. Yet even in this moment, there is a layer of psychological fascination, an irresistible pull to understand how someone so intelligent could miscalculate so profoundly. What emerges is a portrait of moral irony. Alex, who exploited a system for personal gain, now finds the same system exposing his vulnerabilities. The students, regulators, and journalists who once admired or feared him participate in the unmasking. The anti-hero narrative, so carefully constructed, is inverted. The rise is not triumphant but illustrative of systemic weakness and human fallibility. The dark satire becomes evident. In a system designed to educate and empower, brilliance and charisma can manipulate outcomes, but not indefinitely. The tragedy deepens when we consider the broader social commentary. The student loan crisis is not simply the story of Alex, but of millions caught in structural debt. Policies, opaque contracts, and predatory practices create a landscape where manipulation and exploitation are possible. Alex is a lens, not the origin, revealing how ambition and moral ambiguity flourish in a system already inclined toward imbalance. Observers are left grappling with complex questions. Who bears responsibility? The individual manipulator, the victims who trusted, or the system that enabled both? And yet, even as the world closes in, Alex begins a transformation that is both cunning and unsettling. He pivots to media, crafting documentaries, interviews, and podcasts that recount his story with a cinematic flair. The narrative is controlled. Alex is no longer a mere manipulator of loans, but a storyteller, a mythologized figure who survived scrutiny and reinvented himself. He becomes a living paradox, a criminal whose crimes are rebranded as lessons, a manipulator turned narrator, an anti-hero now immortalized in cautionary legend. In this final stage, the reflective tone dominates. The audience, having followed the rise and fall, is invited to consider moral ambiguity. Did Alex deserve admiration for his intelligence, or condemnation for his exploitation? Are we fascinated because of his cunning, or because of the system's complicity? The tragedy is not just his, but ours. We are all participants in a culture that glorifies risk, celebrates audacity, and often overlooks ethical compromise when cloaked in charisma. The cinematic close is somber. Alex walks through an empty lecture hall, once filled with eager students, now silent. The offices, the glossy marketing materials, the webinars, all are relics of a past that cannot be fully reclaimed. Yet, the myth endures. Media clips, online stories, and the psychological imprint on students and followers create a lingering narrative. Brilliance intertwined with moral compromise, ambition shadowed by consequence, charisma counterbalanced by ethical failure. The final reflection is simple but piercing. The student loan crisis is not a tale of isolated wrongdoing, nor is it merely a cautionary fable about one man. It is a mirror reflecting society's contradictions, the allure of empowerment, the vulnerability to persuasion, the systemic structures that prioritize profit over people. Alex's story is a lens through which we see ourselves, our ambitions, and our complicity. In watching his rise and fall, we confront uncomfortable truths about power, morality, and the seductive danger of bending rules in a world already built to bend them. As the credits roll in our minds, the lesson is unmistakable. Systems are imperfect, humans are ambitious, and mythologized anti-heroes will always emerge to test the boundaries. Some will succeed spectacularly, some will collapse, but all leave behind questions that endure far longer than their moment of glory. And perhaps that is the most sobering takeaway. In a society that glorifies cleverness over conscience, we are all at risk of learning too late the cost of ambition and tempered by morality. The story of Alex, the student loan manipulator turned myth, closes not with triumph or failure alone, but with a reflective pause, asking us to examine the thin line between genius and exploitation, ambition and ethical compromise, narrative and reality. It is the kind of cautionary tale that lingers in the mind, prompting both fascination and discomfort, long after the details of loans, repayments, and legal fines fade from memory.